Hello, Traders Point families, and welcome to the first episode of God's Great Garden. Mr. Mylan has already sent out some information about an extension project that you can do with your family called God's Great Garden. And it's something that we collaborated on together and sent out some brainstorming ideas to teachers as well. So it's really a whole school input on what this could be. In short, what we're trying to do is build our school garden here, like we always do, but then have a piece of it that you can do at home, inspiring your kids to get involved in gardening at home, and then use that for a learning opportunity in so many different ways. And also, because we are calling it God's Great Garden, having a component of giving towards it as well. So we're going to be doing this about once a week or so, maybe a little bit more, as a web series where you can follow along with the process that we are doing here at school with gardening, and then also give you some tips and other things that you can do at home. Our goal is to go from this, just a small seed packet, to this, where things have started to grow, to this, where we've transplanted it into a separate pot, and finally move it all outside so that it can flourish. All right, with that goal in mind, we have to go back to the beginning. Where do you start? Well, Mr. Mylan and I collaborated and talked about some potential ideas for you to do at home in a garden theme. What is your garden going to be? Could it be for food, for flowers? It could be anything. So let me give you some ideas beyond what was just in that newsletter and talk about what we're doing here at the garden at school. So our outdoor education department uses the garden as a teaching tool. So we have a section of the garden for each grade. In kindergarten, we study birds. So down at that end of the building, we're setting up bird houses and plants that attract birds so they can be observed from the kindergarten classroom. At the other end of the building, third grade and fourth grade study pioneers and Native Americans, respectively. So we have a garden called the Three Sisters, which has corn, beans, and squash, which is what pioneers would have planted. And then also an ethno-botanical garden across from that, where we can use flowers and other materials from that garden to be in our Native American unit in fourth grade. They can be used for natural dyes or paintbrushes. So we really try to pick plants and themes which connect to our classroom. Beyond what we did last year, we're also going to have a sensory garden. So it will be filled with plants that are connected to one of our senses. The sense of touch, maybe a cactus, which you don't want to interact with, or a lamb's ear, something that's very soft that feels great on your fingers. For a sense of sight, something that's very bright that draws your attention, or something very tall. The sense of smell is also really powerful in a garden. So we have lemon balm that's already started, and other plants which you use that sense for. So we didn't have that last year, but we'll have that this year down at the very end of the building, right when you come out the back doors. So beyond the sensory garden, the ethnobotanical, and the pioneer garden, pollinators are really important. We do have a second grade butterfly project where we raise monarch butterflies. So monarchs depend totally on milkweed plants. So we have some available here that you can pick up to grow at your house. And we're also going to have milkweed and other plants which attract pollinators like hummingbirds, mason bees, and animals, because pollinator habitats are disappearing. So it's essential that they have an opportunity to spread pollen, and giving them a chance to do it here is a great learning tool. We see a lot of different species that can come from there. We have plenty of other ideas, like a unique garden where we use old hats or boots to hold plants instead of a pot or in the ground. We have talked about an ABC garden where you plant a plant for every letter of the alphabet, or at least get a bunch of them, as many as you can fit in. Or a pizza garden, so you can plant all of the delicious food that would go on a pizza, like basil. Same with a salsa garden, tomatoes, cilantro, and that sort of thing. So you do not have to choose just one, but there are so many garden themes that you can think of. We could never do them all here. And use your own creative spark. What are you guys interested in as a family? And it's a good point to talk about this as a family project. We feel like this is a great opportunity for kids across our age groups. So whether you have a preschooler, first, second grader, fifth, sixth grader, or even a high schooler, this is something the whole family can participate in with parents helping to steward this project. So we're right now with e-learning, there's no way for a student in first grade to be doing work at the same time, at the same pace as their older sibling. So much of the work is individualized per grade. So we can't have a lot of cross collaboration, which we normally try to do through things like book buddies. But when we're not here in person, we can't do those things. So I feel like this is an amazing opportunity for the family unit to come together to complete a project that everyone can have a hand in. And that's really important to us here at Traders Point. All right, that's a lot of great information, but what do you do with it? Well, I'm attaching a document, a garden journal, a planning journal that you as a family can use to plan out what exactly you do. Now, the themes that I offered, you don't just have to do one. You can do several. Maybe you thought of something that I haven't, like maybe you want to do pickling, where you grow cucumbers and then turn them into pickles. That would certainly be very popular in my household. So I'm going to put this journal in here, which kids can make a plan for what they want to add. There's pages in here that talk about the plants that they might want to do, a to-do list, so that they can gather seeds, and then sketch what it looks like from a seed all the way to a growing plant. So I think it's a great tool to add in an additional learning component to track what it is, what's going on in their garden. Next step, where do you get the seeds? That was one question that I get quite a bit. I have gotten mine at a number of different places. If you would like to support the local stores, nurseries have them. There's a great place that I got plants from last year called Cox's Plant Farm. It's in Clayton, Indiana, about 25 minutes from Traders Point. And they have a number of greenhouses. It's a really, really cool place. I wish we could go in and check it out. I missed out. It was about a year ago that I went in for the first time, and I really wanted to go back. They are closed due to the coronavirus. However, you can access their catalog online and order seeds or plants, anything that you want, and they'll leave it out on the porch for you. There's plenty of other nurseries around where you can get small plants. I often get my seeds from Menards or Lowe's. They're very inexpensive. That's one of the great things about starting from seed, is that you can save a lot of money. So let's go over what that process looks like. If you want to start now from seed before you can get planted in the ground, how do you do that? Well, Mother's Day is about the time which, in our hardiness zone, which is zone 5, it's about the time that you can plant in the ground without fear of frost killing off the plants. That's the problem. The weather right now, even though it's the early April, it's too cold we still get frost. So we can't plant in the garden, in the ground, without having some sort of protection ready. So I have started all of my plants, or at least a good portion of them, inside under grow lights, and in the right condition, they can grow from seed and then have a head start before that we plant them outside. So here's some materials you're going to need to get started if you want to grow seeds indoors. This is ProMix, a seed starting kit from Menards. One of the great things about this is that not all soils are good for seed starting and then also for transplanting. So once plants get a certain maturity, once they get to a certain height, you're going to have to get them to a larger container than the one that I have right here. This is great for seed starting, but eventually you're going to have to get it out of there because it will need more room for its roots. This ProMix, is great because you can take it directly from the seed starting and transplant it into a larger container, and you don't need a different soil. Other seed starting kits, you will need to get a soil that has fertilizer in it or some other mixture that works best. This is perfect for starting seeds and also for growing. Now, I already showed you this. This is a 72 pod seed starting kit that has a tray underneath it. You will fill this up with soil. I'll demonstrate that here in a minute. And then you can you can add the seeds, cover it up so that the moisture stays in, and you'll be set to go. Obviously, you're going to need seeds as well. So today I'm going to be planting these, show you how to do it. So we have morning glories, marigolds, some daisies, Chinese lanterns, aubriettas, and celotias. Now, why did we pick these? Morning glories are great because they vine up, so they do not stay low to the ground. We always think about different heights in the garden. We want low plants, we want medium plants, and we want plants that grow really tall. Morning glories specifically grow really, really well on sunflower stalks. We'll do sunflowers here in the next episode. So if you have any leftover toilet paper rolls from this crisis, hold on to them because we're going to use them next week for a couple of different things. Marigolds, we use those because they're just so pretty. They have that bright color. Daisies, also, what a contrast between this orange and the white. Chinese lanterns. Now, why these? We do have a strong connection to China with Dr. Long, our primatologist that came over last year. So we want to honor that and remember the connection we have to China. So these are such a cool, very thin flower that we can add. Aubrietta, well, honestly, that was chosen by my daughter, Aubrey, and it sounds like Aubrey, so she thought we should do those. And then again, thinking about colors and textures, the celotias are something totally different. This is also something that could really work well for our Native American garden, where we use this for a natural dye. Finally, you're going to need I use craft sticks, but some sort of marking device so you know what it is. I'll turn this over here. So this is what it will look like in the end. So I've already transplanted some of these. These were nasturtiums, but these were all started from seed right in here, covered, and they are growing. They are looking great. So we have butterfly weed, we have lemon balm, we have toothache plants that are ready to go in here. As they grow, they'll get to a point where they need that bigger container. So some of them moved out, like this over here. So this is our monster hybrid gourd. It is enormous and is our largest one. We have 6 of these around. You might wonder, why do we have this flag? Well, this flag is so that the plant is held up. This is a viner, just like the morning glories. So it needs to hold on to something. So for right now, the weight of it is being supported by the flag. And then when we go outside, this will actually be planted around our teepee garden in the Pioneer area so that it can vine up on the teepee and around that area. So this, again, was started from the seed. This started about a month ago and outgrew the seed starting kit quite quickly, had to be transplanted in this. So this soil right here is not the same that I started in the kit. I didn't use ProMix for that one, but this ProMix that I've already showed you will be great because you can use it in both the kit and this right here. All right, when you finally are looking for seeds, it's super important to look at the back. This is going to give you the information you need to know about where to plant it in the garden, how much sun does it need, how long does it take to bloom, how big does it get, how many Can you plant in a small area? Directions, so on and so forth. This is really, really, if you are looking for a specific type of plant, maybe it doesn't work for the garden space that you have. If your kids aren't patient, then maybe something that takes 120 days to bloom might not be the best idea. Look at this information. It'll provide you some real guidance for what plant can work best for you. So I've got a kit here. Now you might wonder what should I do if I don't have one of these? These are very inexpensive. They're only $4 or $5 at Menards or Lowe's. But if you don't have the capability of getting one or don't want to go out of the house to grab it, a strawberry container or some other plastic container like that will work just fine. We use strawberry containers because it has a lid that can be closed, so it holds in that moisture. That's what's really important. So I filled up most of these with about 3/4 of the way full, and then I've got them wet. We want the moisture to be started. We want that soil to go ahead and start absorbing it and be wet when we do the plants. Soil to go ahead and start absorbing it and be wet when we do the plants. All right, we're going to start with the Carnival de Venezia mix of morning glories. A really good rule of thumb is that you want to plant the seed in this kit about as deep as the seed is thick. So here in my hand, I have the seeds. You can see they're quite small. There's ones that we have here that are for other species of plants that are much, much smaller than this. But these ones are pretty small. So you're going to want to put them and put a little fingerprint in the soil and then add a couple of seeds to the mix. All right, here's what that looks like. Gonna make sure that there's a little indentation. You don't want the soil to be compact, pretty loose so the roots can take hold. But I'm gonna add a couple of the seeds right in the middle. And then do the same for the next pod. And for the next, you can do one, but your chances are better if you do a couple. So I don't want to overwhelm it. But once you're done with that, you're going to take a little bit of the soil and cover it up. There we go. Again, it'll give you directions on the back of the seed packet to tell you how much covering is needed. So if we take a look here on the back of this, it's only about a 1/2 inch depth. You don't want to do it deep at all. Most of them are a 1/2 inch, some are even a 1/4. Some you just lay right on top, especially if you're doing it here. Now the last part, I've already got a popsicle stick that is labeled. I'm going to go ahead and put that in right there so that I know that this row right here is morning glories. So this is our finished product. So you can see that all of the rows have labels. And the last step that you're going to want to do is fill this bottom tray with water so that the soil can remain moist and wet. And that way the seeds will continue to germinate and grow. So again, the back of the seed packet will give you all the information on how long it's going to take, what can you expect. And in the journal that I'm passing along, you can add in the plant date. You can add in when you eventually harvest it. You can take picture or draw pictures of what it looks like. So if you need to reach me, if you want more information, you know how to find me. You can reach out to me via email or also through our social media channel at TPCA Outdoor Ed. Coming up, we're going to be talking about toilet paper rolls and how to use those in your garden, as I kind of alluded to earlier. Also going to take you outside and see what we're doing in our garden at school and show you a little bit closer beyond what the sensory garden and the ethnobotanical garden and pioneer garden. Beyond that, what else are we going to be doing? There's some special features that we're going to add, and we'll have some special appearances by some guests here at school, and then also some animal guests like our baby quail. So, hey, signing off for now. Happy gardening.